Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we ask you please make your way to the auditorium. Our program's about to begin. Once again, please make your way inside the auditorium. Our program's about to begin. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, please make your way inside the auditorium. Our program's about to begin. Once again, please make your way inside to be seated. Our program's about to begin. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're expecting a full house tonight. If you could help us out and slide towards the center of your section, fill in all available seats. Once again, please slide to the center of your section, filling in all available seats between you and the party next to you so we can accommodate all guests. We're expecting a full house tonight. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, please fill in all available seats between you and the party next to you so we can accommodate all of our guests attending tonight. Once again, please slide towards the center of the room, filling in all available seats between you and the next party. If you're on the terrace, please join us in the auditorium. Our program's about to begin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wildlife Conservation Network. Please direct your attention to the screens.
At Wildlife Conservation Network, we believe there is hope for even the most threatened species. And we know it will take a community working together to make that hope a reality. That's why we invest in local leadership and conservation around the world, support a network of partners with bold, effective solutions, and establish wildlife funds to save a threatened species across its entire habitat. We connect donors with the conservation work they support and ensure 100% of their money goes to the work they care about. Together, we're building a world where people and wildlife can coexist and thrive.
WCN is perhaps the most extraordinary and successful conservation organization anywhere.
Join us in creating a future for wildlife.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wildlife Conservations Expo Wild Night Out. It's a pleasure to see so many faces here. I'm Gégé Colomb. I'm the CEO for WCN, and on behalf of all the conservationists and the entire team, I want to welcome you for joining us for this evening. It's going to be a great, fun, wild night out. I want this to be really engaging. It's already started. We had a bit of a delay getting everybody here, so we're going to keep on that engagement and want it to be interactive. So I'd like for folks, it's going to be hard because the lights are so bright in my eyes, but I'd like for folks to raise their hands if you've attended at least one expo in the past. So raise your hand. Wow, that's great. I want you to keep your hand up if you've attended at least 5 expos. Okay? Now we're going to take a big jump. I want you to keep your hand up if you've attended at least 20 expo or thereabouts. Okay, so there are a couple of folks. I want to thank you all for doing that. It's a pleasure to see all of you friends that we've known for a long time. It feels like we haven't seen each other for a while. And I think I started to get that energy of pre-pandemic, and it was really fantastic to see that. There are a couple people also who didn't raise their hands, so I want the people who are joining us here for the first time tonight to raise their hand. Please raise your hand. So you can keep your hand up for a second. People who have been here before, please take note of who's raising their hand after the event. Go introduce yourself, mingle, start to really build this community. You can bring your hands down now. So we're all here because we're united by our passion for wildlife, and more broadly, I think, for a healthier planet, which really means healthier relationships with each other and with nature. And I don't think I need to spend a whole lot of time talking about the statistics or the facts about the state of the world. We know that we're losing biodiversity. We know that we're suffering from climate change. We know that our human communities are suffering through conflicts. And I think, especially this week, the news have been really difficult to read. And we're all processing the state of the world as we can. And I think at that time, it's really important to also take a moment and think about what we can do right here. And right here tonight, our intention is to really re-spark this hope, this inspiration, in the power of people, the power that we all have to make the world a better place. So we're not going to solve all the world's problems, but many of the problems that we face are interrelated. And wildlife conservation can be this bridge that helps develop cross-sectoral solutions so that ultimately the fate of wildlife and people is really deeply intertwined. At the Wildlife Conservation Network, our mission is to protect endangered animals by supporting conservationists who ensure wildlife and people coexist and thrive. We invest in local conservation organizations whom we invite to join our partners network. With your support, we've deployed over the past 20 plus years $110 million to these 22 organizations that are at the core of WCN. We invest in local rising wildlife leaders. To this point, we've invested in 230 individuals at various points in their career. and that support is still growing. And when appropriate, we leverage the collective impact of multiple conservation projects to reverse the decline of species in crisis through our wildlife funds. So through these funds, thanks to your support, we've been able to deploy over $90 million to almost 200 grantees, making the whole community of WCN conservationists quite large. So you can see through our 3 strategies, we truly, and you truly, have a global reach. So in doing all this, we're guided by our values. Impact is an important value. We want to use data. We want to get your feedback from communities, feedback from conservationists, so that we can always learn and have as much impact as possible. Service, listening to the needs of the conservationists, to your needs, to the needs of the communities where the conservationists work, so that we can respond to those opportunities. Building communities so that we really develop relationships that are built on trust, on empathy, on mutual respect, so that we can have greater diversity in all of the approaches that we put forward. That goes along with collaboration. And finally, last but not least, integrity. And especially I want to call out financial transparency, accountability, and efficiency. And while it's only one measure, we're really proud of having a perfect score of 100 on Charity Navigator that ranks over, I don't need to finish a sentence, ranks many different conservation organizations. To date, we've deployed over $294 million thanks to your generosity. You've made a huge difference to wildlife conservation with this high degree of efficiency. 90% of the funds go to programs. We've got a 100% commitment where if you designate your support to a particular species, we'll make sure that it goes to that species. But it isn't just about that species. It's not just about wildlife. It's really about how we live with each other. It's about how we value diversity. It's about how we respect relationships with nature, how we invest in opportunities for kids, for women's, how we foster healthier landscapes, how we foster healthier communities themselves. It's that whole that really allows us to expand the reach of conservation, build towards the goals of 30 by 30 to protect more land so that we can fight climate change. The whole thing comes under this wedge of wildlife conservation. And it all starts with choices that we make. Choices that we make here in San Francisco or in New York, but also in Kigali in Rwanda, in Samburu in Kenya, in Batan Grande in the Peruvian Andes, or in Puerto Maldin in Argentina. It's choices that people make to decide to behave and act differently and to care. And tonight, it really is about connecting you and your passion to the passion of all these conservationists. Many of the conservationists are here. You've already started meeting them. You'll continue meeting them. You'll get several of them who will share their stories with you on stage tonight. And we really want to foster this partnership between us so that together we can help ensure these conservationists achieve their missions better and faster. As I've said, your generosity is really deeply appreciated. Your trust is deeply appreciated. We would not have been able to achieve what we've achieved without you over the years. We pass on 100% of the funds that is designated for particular species to those species. There's no donation that's too small and none that's too big. We really want you to, yeah, that's not a joke actually. We really want you to build those relationships with the conservationists. That's why we bring everybody here together. We create this platform so that you can find out what they're doing. That's part of that transparency value. You can learn about them. They can learn about you. They can learn about your interests and create all those great partnerships so that together we can have the highest impact for wildlife and people and make sure that we can coexist in the future. I also want to thank our sponsors for the events. The Disney Conservation Fund, the Walt Disney Company, and the Gordon Betty Moore Foundation. Those partnerships also go beyond just supporting the events. They've also been deep partners with us. Disney has provided over $8 million to WCN for various conservation efforts to the conservationists who are present here. And thanks to the help of the Gordon Betty Moore Foundation, we'll be able to expand our work with rising wildlife leaders in the Amazon basin soon. I also want to thank, of course, the WCN staff. We wouldn't be able to put on these events without them. We're not going to do a round of applause at this time. We're trying to catch up on time, but a smile goes a really long way. So when you see them running around. And you could do this quick round of applause. But thank you to all of them. They've worked really hard to create this opportunity for conservationists and all of you to meet, to mingle, and to have partnerships that go forward. And now I want to invite a real special colleague. Wally Kampumba, who's traveled from Zambia, runs our career program, which is a real illustration of our commitment to rising wildlife leaders. Walia is an accomplished conservationist in her own right. She has boundless energy. She has deep, deep passion for connecting with people and making sure that they are equipped to be the fantastic leaders that they can be, that the planet needs them to be today and tomorrow. It's my pleasure and honor to put us in the hands of Walia for the rest of the evening as our MC. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Gigi, for that beautiful introduction. It's an honor to be here and to actually run the WCN career program, and of course, be your host for tonight. So please prepare yourselves for a beautiful wild night out with me as we travel around the world. So we're going to start off with a journey around South America, where we're going to see the beautiful penguins, and then we will move to see the majestic elephants as well as the lion kings of Kenya. And finally, we're going to end the night out with the elegant cranes of Rwanda. So for the introduction of our first speaker, he's going to tell us a beautiful story of a certain penguin named Clarissa. Yeah, so please keep that name in your mind, Clarissa. And so he's won one of the recent prestigious awards in conservation, which is the Indianapolis Award for 2023. And so please join me in welcoming on stage Pablo Guroglu, better known to his friends as Poppy.
Thank you, Walia. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
you very much. Thank you. Footprint. We live in a world where the concept of footprint always has a negative connotation. We talk about ecological footprint, about carbon footprint, and all the bad things that we're doing to our planet. And it is often framed in a way that makes us feel guilty and anxious about the condition of our planet. But what if I told you that the concept of a footprint can be a source of inspiration and hope? What if, instead of dwelling solely on the negative impacts of our actions, we kind of try to use the concept in a positive way? So I want to explore with you today that concept. And tonight, I want to share two special stories. One is the story of my grandmother, who was the person that inspired me to work in conservation. And the other story is about Clarita, a very special penguin. My grandmother, Melania, was the person that connected me to nature. She, together with my Greek grandfather, they left their homeland 100 years ago, and they moved to the wild Patagonian coast in Argentina, where I live right now. And when I was a very small boy, my grandmother used to tell me these amazing stories about her visits to see the penguins. She would tell me, for example, how the adults would go into the ocean and come back with the food to feed their chicks, and how the parents would fiercely protect the chicks from the predators. I can still feel the warmth of her hand as she took me for walks. These stories keep me going every day to get the job done. And also, this is what I want to explore with you today. I want to carry the torch of my grandmother and pass on the story of the penguins to all of you. The second story is about Clarita. Clarita is a female Magellanic penguin that has a remarkable life. Clarita's legacy is really inspired to everyone that hears her story. And if you think about penguins, Sometimes the image that comes to your mind is a group of a lot of penguins. That's beautiful, that's fine. But that will make you overlook that each penguin has a life, a family, a story, and a unique personality. Some penguins are cranky, yes, and some others are fearful, but we have penguins that are friendly and social and curious. Clarita was one of the first 12 penguins that settled down in a colony that we discovered 15 years ago. Through Clarita, I will show you what are the main threats that penguins are facing right now in the world and how we are helping address these threats so penguins can thrive. When we first found her, she was incubating her eggs with a bottle of plastics in her nest. Plastics are a problem for penguins because they get entangled in big pieces of plastics, and sometimes they swallow small pieces of plastics that are floating in the ocean, and that can harm them and kill them. Along with the problem with pollution and garbage, some people were coming with dogs that were a threat for penguins. Others will make barbecues and set the bushes on fire where penguins were nesting. And some other people were coming with ATVs, which was a significant disruption. This video shows two of these reckless people with ATVs. They are harassing and herding elephant seals and sea lions, forcing them to go into the ocean so they could be attacked and eaten by a group of killer whales that were just passing by. This video was filmed in the region where we lived 5 years ago. And there you can see the fin of the killer whale attacking the group of sea lions in the left and your right. So this is the level of disturbance that we need to deal with in our region. We were aware that Clarita, together with the other penguins that settled down in this colony, they were just exploring, looking for a safe place to settle down. But this was not the ideal place. So we needed to implement immediate actions to control the situation. So restricting the access of these reckless people was key. And there were many challenges with we had lots of incidents with people coming with arms and with doing vandalism as well. But because of the legacy of my grandmother, we knew that we could overcome these challenges. Against many odds, we were able to designate this area as a wildlife refuge. We invested a lot of time working with the landowners, with the communities, and with the government to add this new layer of protection for this colony. And we also elaborated a management plan, and we helped implement the strict regulations. For example, we also work with the landowners to develop a responsible ecotourism activity that secured the presence of people in the area. And that generated jobs for the local communities and also generated a lot of incomes for the local people. On top of that, we implemented education activities to increase the sense of belonging of those communities with these penguins. And we have taken almost 8,000 kids from the local communities to visit the nearby penguin colonies. So we were connecting the communities to nature through the penguins, just like my grandmother did with me. We also organized multiple cleanup events, engaging hundreds of people from the community, removing plastics from all the coasts and all the nesting areas that penguins were using. When we first found the colony, there were only 12 penguins that were severely affected by all these threats. And after 15 years of our action, our conservation action, this is how the colony looks right now. Isn't that amazing? In the last census, we counted over 8,000 breeders. Every year, for 15 years, Clarita would come back to the nest to meet her partner and raise her chicks. Meeting her year after year was really something that filled us with hope. Clarita was a clear indicator that we were protecting her, making her home safer on land and at sea. And she had great meaning for the Global Penguin Society because she was a living symbol of our work. In one of our last visits to the colony, we filmed Clarita taking care of her chicks and feeding them. We never thought it was going to be the last time we saw her. She never came back to the nest, which was very unusual because she was very loyal to her nest. and we keep on looking for her in the colony. She raised, during her lifetime, 16 chicks that are now part of the population, so her legacy will last forever. But Clarita, on top of that, she left a very deep positive footprint in all of us, motivating all our team at the Global Penguin Society to continue working to benefit the thousands of Claritas that need our help. Because there are thousands of penguins just like her that need help to thrive. There are 18 species of penguins on our planet, and half of them are considered threatened. So through the Global Penguin Society, we help penguins through science, protection of habitat, and also education. To address penguin threats, for example, we reduce the impact of human activities. When we create protected areas, we reduce the impact of fisheries, oil developments, and also deep-sea mining. All these actions help penguins to go better with climate change because we make them more resilient to deal with this issue, which is affecting the habitat and also the habitat that penguins need to feed and also to breathe. And to continue addressing this global threat, we are using cutting-edge technology to track penguin movements at sea as they swim thousands of miles in the ocean during their feeding and migration trips. This information is very important to help us improve the management of human activities that can harm them. And to complement this tracking, we're using underwater critter cameras where we film penguins when they're diving down in the ocean. And for the first time, we can see how is their behavior as they interact with other penguins and other wildlife as well. And we're able to study for the first time the marine habitats that they use in the ocean, allowing us to know more and to protect them. This video was in real speed, so you can imagine the speed that they swim. So far, together with supporters like you, we have been able to protect 32 million acres of habitat for penguins in the ocean and on land, benefiting over 2.5 million penguins worldwide. We have done a lot, but there's still so much more to be done. So we have new and very exciting projects to continue benefiting the penguins, the people that depend on them, and also the entire planet. So in this world, we are obsessed with the image, with the concept of our negative footprint, our negative environmental footprint. But let's not forget about the incredible potential of our positive actions. My grandmother's legacy reminds us that sharing our respect for nature with a child can have a profound generational impact. And Clarita showed us that working hard for conservation is rewarding and worthwhile. Each one of us, we have the tremendous power to leave a very deep positive footprint on our planet, even through small actions. So ask yourself this crucial question: what do I want my footprint to be? And then, go make a difference. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Poppy. You will agree with me that I like to think of Poppy as someone who has a personality of actually the animal that he protects, the penguin. He is warm, he is funny, and he is just wonderful to have around. Like, you would not see Poppy and fail to smile, So yeah, thank you for that, Poppy. I hope you're having a good night. We're just starting. So, for our next speaker, our next speakers actually, because there are two, I like to think of them as the perfect example of well-invested rising wildlife leaders. This is because they're like the epitome of community-led conservation. And so they're going to tell us a story about a lion. Well, there are so many lions that they talk about, but they're going to tell us a story about one particular lion, and this is a name that I would like you all to keep in your mind. The name is Nanai. So please join me in welcoming on stage Shivani Bala and Janeria Lekalai.
She was walking down the road, slowly and unsteadily. I had seen her walk down this road hundreds of times. But this time, it was different. As I watched her from a distance, with tears pouring down my face, I knew that this would be the very last time I would see her alive. This is the story of Nanai, Samburu's most famous and well-loved lioness. No one loved her more than Janeria. Today, he has asked me to share with you her story, because understandably, he finds it really painful. Nanai was born in Samburu 15 years ago, almost as old as Ewaso Lions was at the time. We had the great privilege of watching her become the most extraordinary hunter and the matriarch of all the lions in northern Kenya. Janeria and I saw her when she was a tiny little cub, and she was always at the back of the pride. And he said to me, I really want to protect her. She needs my help. And so I'm going to call her Nanai, which means mine. Nanai got herself into trouble many times. We saved her life on numerous occasions. One time, she had injured her leg so severely that she was hobbling on 3 legs. We guarded her for a whole month to protect her and keep her safe. That day, she put weight down on her 4th leg is a day we all celebrated loudly. She truly lived a hero's journey. Every single time we saw Nanai was a special moment, and this is one I will never forget.
I'm so happy to see all 4. Nana is my favorite lion, the little cubs. So happy. You can see how they are playful. Our mother resting. Oh my God.
You can see just how much he loved that lioness. Unfortunately, Nanai succumbed to cancer in May this year. We had done everything we could to keep her alive, including performing surgery with veterinarians under a tree in Samburu to remove the cancerous growth that had developed on her mouth that was preventing her from feeding and hunting and raising her cubs. She was able to raise her cubs for an additional 3 months, and in April this year, they moved off and were fending for themselves. The growth came back in May, and she lost her body condition so quickly. We knew it was time to let her go. And we knew we had done everything we could for this beautiful lioness. Janeria asked me to stay with her whilst the vet was on his way. I thought I could, but I didn't have the strength or the courage. I wanted to remember Nanai in her prime. I drove off about 1 kilometer away and parked under her favorite tree as the vet arrived and humanely euthanized Nanai. We were all absolutely heartbroken, but no one more so than Generia. And with his permission, I will read you a text message that he sent me that morning. Shiv, I talked to her this morning, and I said thanks to her. I'm so sad, but I had to tell her what a great mom she is, and that I love you so much. You left a great legacy for me and for Ewaso Lions. I have loved her so, so much, Shiv. I find it so hard to imagine she won't be here anymore. I love you, Nanai. Nanai is one of 5 lions we have lost this year. That's 8% of our population of 60 in northern Kenya. There's only 2,500 lions left in our country. There's only 20,000 lions left in the whole African continent. Lions are in serious decline. They're in so much trouble. And in East Africa, they share the land with pastoralists, where they face so many challenges. They're often struggling to find enough food, enough space, and they come into contact with the local Samburu communities. The Samburu communities' lives depend on their cows, their camels, their sheep, their donkeys. It is everything to them. It is their status, it is their bank, it is their wealth. So understandably, when a lion comes along and kills one of their camels or cows, there is so much anger and resentment. And often lions are shot, speared, or poisoned in retaliation. In the early days of Ewaso Lions, over 15 years ago, this was the main threat that lions were facing in our area. And Generia and his team decided to tackle this head on to continue to promote our mission of promoting continued coexistence between people and lions. Generia.
I was a young warrior growing up hating lions. But over time, I developed a very strong love to lions. And now they're just like my cows. And that is what the Lion Kids Camp is all about. A young children coming to get excited for their first ever life with lions in a harmony without any problem causing to them. Many years ago, I met a young boy called Cassian, who came to Lion Kids Camp for the first time when we launched Lion Kids Camp. When he came, I could see, and we could see this kid being very interested and loving lions. Another year, we hold another Lion Kids Camp. As the children approaching and coming to the Lion Kids Camp, I saw a kid hiding from me and turned to be the same Cassian, changed his name to want to come back to Lion Kids Camp. And that moment is when we realized this is a kid that we need to bring him to join Ewaso Lions in lion conservation. And I'm very proud now to say Cassian is the head of Lion Warrior Watch program, that the program I began in 2010.
And during our transition, becoming an elder, I gave them the power to protect lions. And Cassian now, together with his team of warriors, are now tracking lions, protecting lions, and protect what is so important to my community, cows, goats, and donkeys. And now they are out there, risking their lives, making sure that little boys like those ones, when they are hiding, they know where the lions are hiding and they can avoid. And therefore, by doing so, they have protected their livestock and protected the lions. A few months ago, before we came here, me and Shivani and Alkaisian went out to look for lions. And we bumped into this big pride of lions. And even as we get confused and get shocked, we couldn't identify who are all these lions. We were embarrassed. But Cassian was laughing at us, knowing all these lions and identifying and saying, oh, that is Nana's cub, that is another lion. And we were like, what? And we were so embarrassed. But at the same time, seeing a warrior, seeing my community identifying such lions and knowing them makes me and makes us so proud that this is now the lion in their hands. And Cassian will identify all those lions together with the rest of our team. Having said so, in our culture, there are people who believe that wildlife belongs to them, and that is the women's. Once upon a time, everyone lives together in the same village, but the goat was slaughtered. So every woman needs his kid to have a bite. And that is how the wildlife being released to become wild. So our Mama Simbas came to us and said, we want to join lion conservation because all wildlife belong to them. So, and therefore, this is one of their activities that they do whenever the area, the river dries up, because we have only water source river in northern Kenya, which is a Western River, and because of climate change, that river dries up. And the women, for the first time, for our community to go down there and dig, not only for their livestock, but for wildlife. And therefore, I will give you an example. That moment that we went and found one of our male lions walking in that dry river bed, digging water for himself, and those women got so angry and said, this is not right, this is very hard for our wildlife, and they went and dig water for our wildlife. And that evening, we were so happy to see those 5 lions, a pride of 5 lions, coming and other wildlife to drink from that water hole that those women have dug. And with the leadership of Munteli and Barasori, these women are the most strong women in the world that we have in our Ewasland. And they have shown that they say that what men can do, women can do even better. And they have shown by digging that water holes for our wildlife. And they have shown that for many years, what is impossible, it is possible now for them. For more results, Shivani will take you through it. Asanteni sana, asante sana.
In 2022, we recorded our highest lion population in over a decade. We also have recorded a remarkable transformation. For so many years, we kept seeing solitary lions in Samburu. But since last year, there's been a change, and lions have come together to form prides. And we take great pride in that. The success we have had is because it is our communities who are leading conservation efforts. Community-led conservation is the only solution we have to this global biodiversity crisis that we are all facing. Having people care about their land, their wildlife, and their communities. It takes so much courage for communities to live alongside lions. And it takes so much courage for lions to continue to live alongside people. That is true coexistence. I see our team of 67, and I'm so inspired by their passion and dedication in their work. It is our duty as Kenyans to protect what is so important to our country. But we cannot do it alone. We ask for your support, and we ask you all to join us on this extraordinary journey. I am so excited to announce that we are building Northern Kenya's first ever environmental and cultural center. And I have no doubt that through this exciting new initiative, young Nalari here will become the next Menteli, and those behind her will become the next Kassians and Generia. This is what gives me so much hope for the future. A few weeks ago, just before Generia and I started our travels to the US, we went out to look for some lions. And we found more than just some lions. We found Nanai's pride, a pride of 10, including her 3 surviving cubs. And they're not just surviving, but they are thriving. Ntesekwa,
Najum,
Beneo,
Nakokio,
Neo,
and Melio.
and Nagut.
And those are Nana's legacy. And those are our lives.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. I hope you're all enjoying this virtual safari because we've only just started. Yeah. Thank you so much, Shivani and Generia, for that beautiful, beautiful journey that you just took us on. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. And for our next speaker, whenever I think of the work that this organization is doing, 2 words come to mind, and that is compassion and passion. And I hope by the end of his talk, you will all agree with me. So I would like to introduce to you Dr. Olivier Nyasiman.
Right. Are you ready to fly with me? So tonight, I would like to take you on a flight journey with one of my favorite gray-crowned crane. This is gray-crowned crane 039. The very first time I met 039 was in someone's garden. Let me give you a background. 9 years ago, there were more gray crown cranes in people's garden and hotels more than they were in the wild. What was happening, local communities driven by poverty, lack of awareness, and lack of law enforcement, they would catch crane and sell them to those who won't have them in their gardens as pets. So people would have them cut feathers, stop them from flying, sometimes keep them in a confined area like this one. So over the last 8 years, our organization has been working to change that, to put an end to the illegal trade, and to make sure gray crown cranes like this one can go back to the wild. So we launched a huge campaign. We went out, we told Rwandans, hey, gray crown cranes are in danger. Let's do something about it. So people accepted and they called us to their house. So we went to every house and we were identifying, building a database of all the cranes in captivity. But the moment I went to the house where this crane 039 was, he was actually with another crane. But this one was shy. But gray crown crane 039, he was jumping. He was really trying to jump. The feathers were cut. He could not jump over the fence. But I knew this was a special crane. I knew he was telling me something. It's like he knew what was bringing me. It's like he knew I was coming to give him a chance to go back to the wild. So what we would do when we went to the house, we would put a leg band on each crane. You can see the blue leg band, and that's how we gave him 039 as his number. And then later on, we would arrange to go back and collect those cranes and take them into health check. So when I realized 039 had a lot to tell me, I made sure he was among the very first crane we took for our quarantine, our health check. And today, I want to tell you about the 4 things I've learned from this crane. So after successful health check, gray crown crane 039 was released into the park in the eastern part of Rwanda, a beautiful park. We built 2 rehabilitation facilities, one at the lake shore, another one a bit inside the park. And the idea was to stop predators from coming with an electric fence, but no roof on top of this facility. Our idea was for the cranes to grow new feathers, flight feathers, and whenever they are free, to be able to go out and enjoy this beautiful park. Akagera National Park is one of the parks in Central Africa that has the largest wetland. And when I had this project in my mind, I thought like, we can actually bring all of these hundreds of cranes from captivity and take them into this park. There is a lot of water, a lot of food. Then we go there and build a safe population in this park. But 039 had something else to tell me. So everything was really working well. These are the cranes at the lake shore that we're reintroducing. And every time I visited, I saw 039 trying to jump. He was very stubborn. Even without feathers, he was really trying to jump. And the moment I saw him in the sky like this, I was filled with joy. I really wanted to cry because this crane didn't even wait to grow the full flight feathers. And he really didn't want to waste even a second without trying, without really enjoying the freedom that he's given. It's not only this that he did only. He found love. He found a beautiful girl, 211. They spent a lot of time together, finding food, and I really, every time I watched them, it's like I would put my ear there trying to figure out what they are saying. 039 was very stubborn. He wanted to go places. 211 was not yet brave. One day, we woke up, and this guy was working at our rehabilitation facility where these cranes were kept. He told us, I can't find 039. And I was a little bit worried. I said, did he jump over the fence and go eaten? This crane is not yet confident. Like, what happened? Oh my goodness, what is 039? The next day, we received a report from a member of the community. 039 had flown away from the park into the agricultural landscape. That's the 039 with a free-range crane population out of the park. And when I saw this photo come from the member of the community, I was full of joy. He's not dead, he's not dead. But he had left his lover in the park. So, lesson number one that I got from 039. You know, I had said, 039, this is a huge park. We are giving you these nice wetlands. Go, build a family. But the very first place he visited was out of the park. So, and the people, without the people who reported this sighting, we would have not been able to see or to know where he went. So this immediately was a message number one, that we cannot do it alone. So we started recruiting a group of community conservation champions. These are members of the community with the passion and the love for conservation that we bring on board. We train them, we give them smartphone. They collect data on cranes. They send it to us. And they educate their fellow communities. They protect breeding site. They are the guardians of the cranes. So this was number one lesson we learned, and we implemented it away. And now we have like a group of more than 200 people working throughout the country in all our initiatives, protecting cranes and other species. So when we saw Great Crown Crane 039 was moving a lot, he came back to find his lover, and we set traps in the park, and we caught them, and we used technology. We put a GPS tag on their legs, and we start tracking them. And on the right, you see that's a map that plots the movements of this crane. You can see the area that is highlighted in green. This is out of the park, and this is the very place that they like to go. It's agricultural area with lots of livestock activities and agricultural activities. And lesson number two we got is, yes, we like the protected area, but we also live in agricultural landscape. We cannot survive without this area. Our future relies on how you work with the farmers. So you can imagine having like a flock like this one in your field, the damage they can cause. So Rwanda Wildlife, listening to the cranes and to the people, we've been implementing a lot of homegrown solutions to try find solutions that work for both cranes and for people. The area highlighted in red has a big question mark. You know, the black line on this map is a border between Rwanda and Tanzania. This crane moved to Tanzania. And say, how can I go to Tanzania? And I was wondering, what's there that is attracting this crane? I wish I could see. But, so this crane, I realized was giving us message number 3, that cranes, we don't know borders. We are free. We don't need a passport to be able to cross. And if you're going to protect us, you've got to work with others. So over the last 3 years, we've been working to establish a transboundary collaboration with our neighboring countries, Tanzania, Uganda, and we are looking forward to working with Burundi to protect cranes in this huge landscape. And this is a group of community conservation champions in Uganda. You can see their outfit with cranes on their shirt. And they are really proud and being trained to go out and save cranes in that area. And this is the working together that this crane has taught us. When it came to breeding, so we always took a boat, went around the lake shore where we introduced these cranes. And when it came to breeding, 039 and 211 came back inside the park. They came to the very same place where we had introduced them. They came and they built a nest, and the next time we saw them, 3 chicks. when I saw this, like I was full with joy, and again, this is one example that I've been following. But again, there is the lesson number 4 that I learned from 039. Yes, of course, we go into agriculture, we cross the borders, but we also need very protected area, the area that are safe for breeding with less disturbance. So at Rwanda Wildlife, we listen. We are now moving towards protecting some of the largest wetlands in Rwanda to make sure gray crown cranes and other species that rely on places like this can thrive and find safe home to live. So all of these activities we've been implementing by listening and following 039 have given us a very good result. This year, we've counted over 1,200 cranes, another successful, consistent increase. And this is all happen when you listen to species and when you work with people to find solutions. So I would like to finish with this story. 2 months ago, when I was talking about these results to a journalist, this journalist came to me and he asked me a question. They said, Olivier, you've been following cranes and trying to listen to them, but let's change things around. If cranes could listen to you, what would you tell them? And for 8 years I've been working with cranes, no one has asked me this question. I've really talked to the media a lot, but this was a question that I had to think again. So I turned my back again and looked at the cranes and I say, hey, gray crown cranes, there is hope that you can fly. There is hope for your habitat and hope for your chicks, because I love you. And because we have a team, Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association, that loves you, because the country Rwanda loves you, because the region loves you. But today, I would like to add something else. I would like to say, gray crown cranes, there is hope for your chicks, there is hope for your habitat, because all of these people here are willing to join us to secure your habitat and to make sure you can thrive in those agricultural landscapes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivier. That was beautiful. I hope that 039 can all remind us that indeed we cannot do conservation without the love and the dedication and just the edge to just so high for us, and of course, teamwork. So for our next speakers, they are going to remind us the value of coexistence. And they're also going to tell us a beautiful story of an elephant called Anwa. So just brace yourselves for this last ride. Please join me on stage. Please join me to welcome on stage Lucy King and David Badu.
Absolutely incredible to be here with you all. Fantastic to see you all. We really wanted to start our talk about coexistence this evening to tell you about this incredible bull called Anwa. He's a gentle giant that we both know very well from Samburu, which is in northern Kenya. He lives practically with us in the research camp. He's a very sweet-natured, but sometimes incredibly naughty elephant. He seems to like to do this to our research cars. And we can't quite work out why, but I think he feels quite familiar with us. We still love him for it, even though he's caused a little bit of damage. For over 1.5 million years, these incredible, largest of all land mammals have walked this planet, including Anwa and his families. They are some of the most complex and wonderful creatures. They take care of each other. They have over 100 vocalizations that they use to reassure each other, to challenge each other, to compete with each other, and to help each other find food and resources. We have the privilege of working with these animals both in Samburu and down in Tsavo in Kenya, and we support over 100 partners through the Elephant Crisis Fund. Sadly, the planet around them and around us is really starting to crumble. We've heard so much about this evening. I mean, this summer alone, we've all experienced unprecedented wildfires, temperatures that have rocketed. We've had droughts and floods all at the same time, all in the same countries. And we've been really struggling in Kenya as well with a 2.5-year drought. We've started to really unbalance nature, and we've triggered the start of a new extinction crisis. We're seeing species disappear 10 times faster than during the time of humans, than before the time of humans. And biodiversity is at the heart of this challenge, but also at the heart of the solution, particularly for the carbon solution. It's our forest, soils, and oceans that we all need to support if we're going to start looking after our species. Elephants are at the heart of this story for Africa. Without elephants, our savannas would just be transformed. One thing that they're super important for is some of the tree species that need to pass through an elephant's gut, they need to be planted in a dump of elephant dung for it to grow. And some of these species are really important trees that sink our carbon, which is why we really must increase our efforts to protect these critical habitat species, not just for elephants as a keystone species, but for all of the other creatures that live in the same habitats as elephants. The importance of these animals cannot be overstated, but they can also be quite a challenge to live with. If you come face to face with a 7-ton bull elephant like this when you're on foot or in the dark, it could be quite a different emotional response. They can actually be pretty terrifying. So even our friend Anwar, who we love dearly, can be pretty scary in the dark. This was Anwar, not very long ago, discovering and being very cross with a new compound that popped up in his usual feeding area. You can imagine that the people were not very happy about that. Across Africa, there is no question that we're seeing an exponential growth in the human population. This is simply a fact, and one of the most important things to realize about this is this change in population has happened in all of our countries as well, in North America, in Europe. Africa is simply going through its development phase. What we need to do is hold together and look after the land and the elephants while this exponential population growth is happening. And we need to protect and help the communities during this phase. All the models are predicting that our populations are going to level out. And there are these Sustainable Development Goals for 2030 which are helping us get there. Even if we miss them slightly, we're on track. We should end up with a more stabilized human population and elephant population. But in the meantime, we have an enormous task to preserve the habitats these elephants are living in and their corridors, and of course the communities who need so much help in this development phase. So even if you love elephants, as we all do, and I know you do as well, your affection can quickly turn sour if your entire night's crop is damaged in just a matter of hours, or even your loved ones are killed or injured, which sadly is also happening in Africa. At Save the Elephants, we're deeply committed to finding long-lasting, sustainable solutions to living together with elephants for the decades to come. And if we don't, then the future for both ourselves and the elephants would look pretty grim. This is our absolute priority looking forward. Luckily, there are people who know all about coexistence, and some of them have been honored at the very highest level by some of the most important people like Prince William, and I'm so proud to introduce you to my special friend, our special colleague, and the head of the Samburu program for us at Save the Elephants, and Tusk Award nominee, David Dablan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lucy. As some of you may guess, I come from a nomadic group called the Samburus, who've lived alongside elephants buffaloes, as well as many other wildlife species for generations, in fact, since time began. We are pastoralists, a nomadic group who live off from milk, blood, and meat from our livestock because we don't eat, we don't use wildlife products because that will be, in our culture, that will be like eating your own ancestors. And it's a taboo. So, and many of our clans are actually descended from different wildlife species that we've mentioned here before. That sort of coexistence has made Samburu one of the best places to study elephants. Elephants seem to trust us and let us come close and study them. For the last 20 years, that's how I spent most of my time doing from our research camp. However, not all is positive in that in the past we've seen a terrible slaughter of elephants due to greed for their task, a terrible imbalance, value on ivory that overcome cultural barriers. Therefore, poaching was terrible in that we've seen so many elephants that we've spent so much time being, slaughtered. However, the Samburus, Save the Elephant, we've actually joined hands with local communities, local NGOs across Kenya, across Africa, across the world, national governments, and passionate people like yourselves. And we want this. China banned trade in ivory at the start of 2018. I want to tell you that last year, 2022, we have seen for the first time, we've recorded 0 poaching in Samburu National Reserve. And I think this is something that we should all be proud of, and because I feel that we're all part of this success, and that was a big thing. But we have a new challenge, and this is a challenge of changing of lifestyle. For the last 20 years, we've seen things changing in Samburu. Traditional lifestyles are fading. Life is less about existence and it's more about making a living. We have to make sure that local communities need elephants around them. And that means they have to benefit, and not suffer losses. Thankfully, we have a plan, or we have something that we've been working on. And my colleague, without further ado, a friend, Lucy King, will take us through what this plan is, because I'm sure most of us will be very anxious about what is this plan. Without further ado, Lucy, karibu.
Thank you, David. And I mean, it really is incredible that we've got to 0 poaching in Samburu National Reserve. It's really due to the people like David and his colleagues, our network of partners, the communities, the rangers, the game reserves, but also the international community. Congratulations, it's been amazing. We just need to keep it that way. And the reality is that human-elephant conflict is the next challenge that we have for the next decade, and probably much longer than that. As David mentioned earlier, we have some really good, solid solutions that we've been working on and that we're really starting to spread around Kenya and around the rest of the continent. One of the main solutions is that we speak to many, many countries all at once. So what we work on in Kenya often can be scaled to other parts of the continent. For example, in the north where David lives, we've deployed multiple rapid response units, which are trained guys often on the back of motorbikes because they're cheap, they can get into the rural areas very fast, and they respond very fast to incidents of conflict, whether it's a smashed water tank, whether it's a broken down house where elephants have ripped the roof off to reach food inside. These teams will arrive very fast, calm everyone down, and find solutions, rebuild the water tank, rebuild the walls, help the community find some food for the next few weeks. It's very, very important to be there on the spot. And we're trying to get more and more rapid response units out there over the next year. We've also, just like the Mama Simbas, we've been engaging the Mama Tembos, which are elephant mothers, these wonderful women. We've doubled the number of these wonderful women who've been helping us protect the corridors in northern Kenya. We're now protecting 6 elephant corridors with these incredible, powerful, beautiful women. And it's not just for elephants, it's actually for protecting the corridors for their livestock as well. So we're just keeping these routes between the rivers and the foraging grounds open and stopping people just plonking a supermarket in the middle of it or putting one house. And there are some very powerful people, as you know, in Africa who can just take over these corridors. So a collective of strong women can have quite a lot of impact on protecting these corridors. One of the other really exciting projects that we've been working on for 3.5 years now is this new book that we've created. It's called the Human-Elephant Coexistence Toolbox. We've got a few copies outside. You might have been able to see one. We've just launched the 2nd edition of this 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago. And this is a collaboration of all of our partners across the continent. We've so far got it into the hands of 350 people and project partners in 54 countries. That's not just the elephant range. Those are all the countries like China, Japan, America, Europe, people who have influence as well. And we are really working on getting these methods into the hands of people that really need them. So there's over 200 pages. There's over 100 methods of how to live with elephants. Our beehive fences are just 4 pages in this 200-page book. And we are now doing 3-day training workshops in the field, in my Tsavo camp down here, where we bring people in for an intensive course, both classroom and field work, showing them how to build, showing them how to learn all about these different methods. It's been translated into 3 languages. We have 3 African languages starting next month. So farmers, there are farmers that are really good examples of people who've taken up the toolbox. This is Jonas Mwakima. We work with him in Kajiri village in Tsavo. He was one of our beehive fence farmers, and then he got really excited about all these other methods. So he now has about 5 or 6 methods just around his farm, from watchtowers to chilies to noise guns. He invented his own noise gun because he saw all of these ideas, like, I can come up with my own plan. So we were so thrilled that we put his noise gun into the toolbox. And so he's now an author, and he takes great pride, and he's joined our team of trainers as well. So now he hosts people onto his farm and inspires the next generation of youth and his communities. So getting this toolbox into the hands of people, communities, is very, very important. And it's also getting into the hands of governments and departments across the continent, particularly through our Elephant Crisis Fund network. And what we really want to do is just give ourselves hope that if we all pull together, we can find solutions to these really wicked problems. We did it for stopping the ivory trade, and although it's not completely stopped, we have reduced it in Kenya to a really manageable level. We still have challenges in parts of Africa, West Africa and Central Africa particularly, where we're trying our best to support those projects as hard as we can and get the toolbox in for balancing the anti-poaching work and our coexistence work. So some of our heroes, like Ian Douglas Hamilton, has worked his whole life to keep this under wraps, and the battle is not done, but we're getting there, and that's what's so important. So thank you for helping us find these tools. We really need to get these into the hands not only of our communities, but in particular, I'm passionate about getting into the hands of women, and these incredible women across Africa who we're working with and all the different enterprise groups that we're supporting, whether they're looking after cattle, whether they're weaving amazing baskets to provide alternative income, processing honey, selling elephant-friendly honey to different communities, or whether it's the collective cooperative groups that we're supporting, where we get groups of women together to create multiple enterprises. It creates a much more powerful market force if we can get women working together and helping them. So we just want to thank you all so much for your support. We are so proud and grateful to be here in our 30th anniversary year. And we hope we've got 30 more years ahead of us, trying to help elephants, and in particular, working for these really challenging problems of coexistence. But we really think we're on the right track, and we hope together you're going to join us. Please come and visit us in the field. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you so much, David and Lucy. So now, in case you have some burning questions with regards to Clarissa or Nanai or 039, as well as the Naughty Anwar, please feel free to just scan that on Slido and post your question quickly. So I would like to invite back on stage the speakers, as well as GJ for this next session.
Except I'm going to steal this seat. David, back around. That's slide one. Slide one.
Slide one.
Oh, here we are. David.
Slide one.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to use it.
Okay.
No, I'm taking this seat after David. I'm sorry. Well, so it's great to see you all here. It's fantastic to see everybody here. I apologize for standing room only, but I'm really delighted that it means so many people are showing up for conservation. Hopefully next year we double that, so you'll keep doing your job. We'll just make sure we get a bigger place or more chairs for everybody. But I think we've had some questions coming through. So as we said, please pull out your phones. Don't hesitate, not rude, and scan this. You'll get to an app called Slido, and then we'll take some questions from there. We're going to get a couple. I think I've got some people on my team helping out and sending me things going. And then we also have good old mics if people want. We've had people also watching this online sending questions. So this is our opportunity to interact a little bit with all of you. It's a pleasure. Big round of applause again to all the conservationists. And their teams on the ground. I think it's really important that they're all standing here on behalf of a team and of communities. Not seeing any questions, so I think I'm going to start off with the first question, and then hopefully people will get a little bit less shy. But I'd love to hear from you what you think have been observations of things that have changed since you've started in conservation. And I will open the floor to anybody who wants to take that question from the panelists. Poppy.
So I think
David.
I'm 54 now, and when I was a kid, nobody was talking to me about nature except my grandmother. So that was an exception. And one of the things that really make me hopeful is that to see the young generations, that they have this concern about the environment in their DNA, you know. They don't need to be biologists. This is something that I like to point out. People perceive that you need to study biology to be a conservationist, and it's not that right. We need psychologists, you know, architects, engineers, people working in finances to develop models to support conservation. We need people from all walks of life. But I think that what changed is that perception and what young generations are willing to do. And soon, they will represent most part of this planet, and they will vote with the conservation in their mind. And that gives me a lot of hope.
Thank you. David, you also wanted to share something?
I think I'm about 22 years old in the project now, and when we started, one of the things that I see is consistent, you know, a pattern of weather changing. It's either an extreme drought or extreme, you know, floods. So there are different things that are actually changing as far as I can see. Human expansion also around the reserves. And of course, you know, very much needed development, especially in northern part of the country. So these are all things that, you know, there's not one particular thing that is changing. There's so many bits and pieces that are actually changing, and they all have their own effect. So I think there is an opportunity to attack these things in different ways. And of course, you know, the lifestyle changing, and there's nothing wrong in communities developing. We just need plan. We need plans in place and physical plannings in place. And we're also seeing elephants, you know, sort of expanding, you know, across the landscape. So these are all things that we need to put our heads together so that we see how can we move together to the next step, or to the next 2023 sort of Kenyan's kind of blueprint kind of thing.
Great, thank you, David. So now the questions are coming in, and we're not going to have time to probably answer all the questions, but we have plenty of time after this to continue those conversations. I'll start with this one because I think they're pretty quick, and maybe we can just quickly go down the line, maybe starting with you, Lucy. Just giving you a heads up, okay? How did you get involved in the places where you're currently working? I think those answers might be pretty fast for most of you.
So I was brought up in Somalia and Lesotho in Kenya. And so my most vivid memory as a child was seeing a lot of electric fences between game and people in South Africa. And I found that really profound as a young person. And so when we moved to Kenya, I found the freedom there and the wonder of this crazy wildlife overlapping with people extremely exciting. And I've always been interested in how does this coexistence work, whether it's lions or elephants or birds or the smaller animals as well. And so Kenya is a fabulous place to study that, but to be part of the solutions that are coming through the conservation community there. And I feel like the solutions we're finding in Kenya, where we have such an engaging population to work with, can be translated and taken to other countries. So it's a really exciting hub for us, and why Save the Elephants is headquartered in Kenya as well.
Thank you, Lucy. David?
As I've grown up in a village where there was abundance of wildlife, I've always been very much interested in wildlife. I've always been very curious. I've had elephants chasing me to and fro to school, and I read Ian's books, Amongst Elephants, and that sort of really motivated me. And as soon as I finished my high school, I walked into the camp and I said I needed to work for this organization. So that's, I was given a 3 months internship, and my 3 months became 6 months internship, and 6 months became 20 years later to me.
Olivier?
I would say I'm working in a place where I was born, but throughout when I was little, I never thought I would become a conservationist. But I realized that actually everything started very, very, very far ago, long ago when I was with my grandma. There was always a lot of stories, like the evening around the fire. And it's like there was transgeneration, like a transmission of all of these stories and the knowledge about wildlife. And I'm realizing all the things I'm doing nowadays, it's all this inspiration that I got from my granny. I got told a lot of stories, and again, we were given a lot of chance to go out, be with nature. And one of my best time was the evening when I went to collect water to see, and we would see cranes in the wetland dancing. I love to dance. You might wonder where I take it from. So really those are the kind of memories that were built in my head. And growing up, I was inspired to do a lot of things. I became a veterinarian for the gorillas, but it's like my heart was not in the right place until I moved out to start my own organization to really inspire others to protect the gray crown cranes that we have all grown up with and watching, dancing. So it's just the storytelling, the inspiration that really continues to inspire us, and we want to keep that legacy.
Thank you, Olivier. Janaria?
Mine is very strange. Yes, we were born and raised in Samburu. We have been conservationists for many years, living alongside wildlife. But that moment, I was just herding my father's livestock. And I was just a young boy running around. But my family was very poor, so I wanted to the way to support them. But I don't know how. So then, of course, Giovanni came to our conservancy and met the warden called Stephen and Antoye, who is our community warden. And she said, I want some few people to work with, to see how the community think about lion conservation and how we can find the lions in this region. And that is how I got into lions. And my community was very shocked because I was not supposed to conserve lions. I was supposed to kill them to reduce the conflict. So, and therefore, I was following, and going with Chivani, and they thought like I've gone crazy, I've gone mad to follow some crazy lady. Sorry to say that, Chivani. So because we know how many lions we have killed, but we don't know how many lions are left in Kenya. Even though lions mean so much to our culture, all wildlife means so much to our culture, and therefore that is how I got into lions, going and see the lion for my first time ever in harmony without any problem, and realize that lions are just like humans, they support each other, and seeing them for 5 days, going without food and realizing how difficult life they are going through. And that's how, I felt so bad and wanted to give one of my goats, because seeing them, struggling, chasing an antelope, and the antelope runs, and that's how I got to really love lions and got into lion conservation. So.
Thank you, Janaria. Shiv.
I used to be called the crazy one, but he's now known as the crazy one. I'm actually pretty normal. I was born and raised in Nairobi, and I was one of those lucky Kenyan children who went on safari a lot with my parents. My parents were not conservationists. My dad was actually a motorsport rally driver. And GJ can attest, I'm actually the slowest driver he's ever been with. And when I was 8 years old, I actually saw my first cheetah, and it happened to be in Samburu. And I never forgot that moment. So when I was 8, I said, I want to do this. I want to do conservation. I want to drive around in a car and look for cheetahs. And in 2002, I got an opportunity to move up to Samburu, to go spend a weekend there. And now, 21 years later, that weekend just extended. It has been my home, and I've had the great privilege and honor to live amongst the Samburu communities with my team, who are extraordinary, and my 2 dogs, Kura and Nanyori. Samburu is very much my home. The last 21 years has been an amazing journey, which I'm now writing about in a book. So stay tuned. This will come out next year, but everything will be in that. Thank you.
Poppy, I'll ask you to keep it short, by the way.
Very short. So as you've seen, my key connection was my grandmother, but I didn't want to be a biologist. I wanted to be an ambassador, so I studied laws. I didn't like it that much. I studied 2 or 3 years, but that was very useful for me, because when I defend penguins with congressmen or politicians, I make a legal case for penguins. So I use the legal things that I learned. And then there were a lot of oil spills, and 40,000 penguins died per year where I live in Patagonia, per year. So I used to start rehabilitating them, and then I said, I have to be more efficient, so I pursue an academic career, but then I realized science is not enough to fix conservation problems. That's why we started the Global Penguin Society.
Great, thank you. So we did get a lot of questions. I'm not going to get through them all, but because I think we all tend to be overachievers, I want to get through as many as possible. So I'm going to do some quick ones. One to Poppy is, does Global Penguin Society have projects outside of South America?
Yes, definitely.
Great answer.
So we have, yes.
This is a teaser. You can all go talk to the conservationist afterwards. Okay. I've got another one.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. I've got more coming. Hold on. I've got another one for Lucy and David, is where can people find a copy of a toolbox to learn from?
Oh, I'll take that one. There's a few outside. They might have all gone, but we can give you a free one, a free PDF. So you can either go to our website, or there's a QR code that's on one of the ones outside. Otherwise, email me, and I will email it to you. And yes, you're very welcome to all have one.
Thank you.
And please share it.
Another quick one-word answer, and this is coming from your gut, okay? It's a hard question. If you could choose another animal to work on, what would it be? I'll start with Poppy, because he raised his hand.
Dragonflies and hummingbirds.
That's 2, but that's okay. Shiv.
Wild dogs.
Wild dogs. If you want to learn more about wild dogs, there are people in the room who can help you with that. Janaria.
Dick Dick.
Dick Dick. Olivier.
Cool, that's tough. Bats.
There are also people in the room who can help with that. David?
Hyenas.
Hyenas.
Yeah.
Lucy?
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Dolphins, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Finally, marine mammal making it.
Yeah.
We are running out of time. I do want to close probably with another question for all of you. Some questions on here can be pretty depressing, talking about climate change and some of those aspects. So I'm not going to ask you about that. But I encourage you to continue those conversations afterwards. What I'd love to hear is what you're still learning about, what is still keeping you excited and discovering the sense of awe that brought you into this in the first place. What are you still learning, Lucy?
I genuinely, we still really don't understand what makes elephants move. We're tracking them, we've been tracking them for decades. We still are surprised every day. I think you know we have a tracking app now where we can see our elephants live, and we're constantly WhatsApping each other going, look what this one did. And it's just so fascinating. We're gripped to it, and I think we just haven't scratched the surface of the true depth of understanding elephant movements. There's many PhDs still to come that we need to help us fully understand it.
Great. David?
I think one of the things that is keeping me still there is I've been there long enough, but I still feel there's so much to be learning. Every other time, elephants surprise us by what they do, where they go, how they maneuver into these places. So I just feel like we're not even halfway to learn what these elephants are all about.
Okay. Olivier?
I think there is a lot to learn about species, like doing research. But one thing really that really amazes me is actually how much of the solutions are out there in the communities. Sometimes as scientists or conservation, we think we've got it, we have the solution, we are bringing this, but there is a lot of homegrown solutions. And every time we take time to sit with communities, we always find a solution together. And I'm always really up to finding something new with them. And I really hope one day I'll be able to document all of those solutions that we've been able to come up with. And those want to come more for all the challenges that are around.
Thank you, Olivier. Janaria?
We are very privileged to have learned how lions can, navigate themselves through like a land where people, livestock live together. And now something that's very new that happened, our lions used to be solitary, and now they're coming to form a big pride. And that is one thing that now we are learning to see how is the bigger pride, navigate themselves from one place to another without advertising themselves, showing themselves, and having those little bushes that are not enough to hide that big pride. And of course, the new challenges about infrastructure, new development coming, Vision 2030, those things, how will lions adapt to those changes that are coming to our area, about the railway, the pipeline, the highway that's killing all the wildlife. How are the lions, will react and find their way to go from one area to another? If they put the underpasses, will the lion pass through? So those are the things now we are up to learning. Thank you.
Thank you. These issues of connectivity, I think, are universal. Shiv?
As Janaria said, the threats and challenges to lions have changed so much in the last 20 years, from dealing with retaliatory killing 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to now dealing with invasive species. We're constantly learning something new. But most of the time, we have no answers. When we started Ewaso Lions, we actually had no plan of what we were doing. You learn along the way, and we have felt that it's very much been a journey for us. I remember when I started, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just thought, okay, lions are being killed, what do I do about it? And I went straight to Janaria and our team, let's figure this out together. And we're constantly learning ways of how we can promote that continued coexistence. Coexistence is not new in northern Kenya. People have lived with wildlife for generations, but the challenge is it's becoming so much harder. So our role is to figure out how can we keep working with our communities so wildlife and people can continue to coexist. We're learning something new every single day. That's what gets us out of bed every morning. That's what gets us out looking for lions, because I guarantee you, every single time we go out and see lions, we see something new, we learn something new, and we love it.
Poppy?
So every 2 breaths we take, the oxygen of one comes from the oceans. The oceans provide oxygen and food and regulate the weather on the entire planet. But we know more about other planets than about our own ocean. So through new technology applied to marine wildlife, we are learning so much about our own oceans. And the more we know, we can minimize unnecessary conflicts with other human beings, and we can coexist. So we can satisfy our needs and pay attention to what wildlife needs. So we are learning a lot also to minimize these conflicts so everybody can coexist.
Great, thank you. I want to thank you all for asking those questions. I want to thank the panel. I'm going to turn it back over to Bwalya. We're going to start to transition into our party. We've had some, yes, party. We have 6 great conservationists here, but they've mentioned other species, and I mentioned there are other people in the room who can talk about those species. So we're going to give you a little bit of taste and an introduction to all those people. But back over to Bwalya. Thank you. Push him back.
Thanks, I don't follow. Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much. That was lovely. So in case your question was not gotten to while they were on stage, don't panic. We still have a long night. There's still lots of time for you to actually engage and connect with these conservationists as well as all the other conservationists that are around. So could I please ask the volunteers to make their way to the stands as the conservationists come on stage shortly? So if there are any volunteers, kindly make your way to the stand, please. And I would like to invite back on stage all the conservationists that were speaking and those that we currently have in the room. Thank you. I need a mic.
I think I'm meant to start. I'm Colleen, Ludencia, and Andrew from the Nyasa Lion Project in Mozambique.
I'm Peter Lindsay, Director of the Lion Recovery Fund in Zimbabwe.
I'm Azza Shinman. I'm the Director of the Pangolin Crisis Fund. I'm based in the UK.
I'm Marcus Hofmeyer, Director of the Rhino Recovery Fund based in South Africa.
Olivier from Rwanda, my colleagues Theo and Cecile working to save cranes.
David and Ola from Saiga Conservation Alliance, Central Asia.
I'm Jim Sanderson, Small Wildcat Conservation Foundation, 39 countries, 21 species. This is my colleague Flavia Torelli from Brazil.
Rachel, Kira, and Ellen across 6 countries working with sharks, rays, and turtles.
Poppy Borboroglu, Luján, and Candela, Global Penguin Society, based in Argentina, but we work globally.
Franci y Rosamira from Colombia, working with cotton top tamarins.
Robin Appleton, Kate McIvor, Alexander More from Spectacular Bird Conservation in Peru.
Luisa and Saliza from Maraset in Malaysia, working on whales, dolphins, porpoises, and dugongs.
Aisha and Farina, we are from Sartuata, working with the Bornean elephants in Borneo, Malaysia.
Abdullahi Ali from the Hirola Conservation Program in Kenya. We work on giraffes and antelopes. And with me is also Nishat Patel from the Hirola Conservation Program.
Gladys Kalema Zikusoka from Uganda, working with mountain gorillas. And we're very happy to be celebrating 20 years of conservation through public health. And I'm here with my husband and one of the first donors to the organization.
Thanks, Dr. Gladys. Thank you, Charlie, for having us here yet again.
Iroro Tanshi from Nigeria. I'm here with my husband, who's also co-founder with me of my organization, but he's out tonight nursing a leg pain. Anyway, we study bats and we protect bats in Nigeria, the Gulf of Guinea Islands, and now spreading across West Africa, supporting partners protecting bats.
Jorgelina, sorry. Yeah, Jorgelina, Sandra, and Claudio, we work to protect the Ethiopian wolves on the roof of Africa.
Natalia and Felipe from Ecuador, we work with the brown-headed spider monkey, and we are the Washus and in Project the Washu.
I'm Rebecca Klein. I'm joined by my much taller colleague over there, Katleho Kolonyane. And we are working in the Western Kalahari of Botswana, conserving cheetahs and other threatened carnivores.
I'm Stephanie Baron, and I'm working on grizzly bear, mountain lion, wolf, and black bear here in the United States.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm here with Mark at the front. We are working on orangutan conservation in Malaysian Borneo and our organization is called Hutan. Thank you.
Jessica here with Jeneria and Shivani from Ewaso Lions, Kenya.
Hi everyone, I'm Bert Sanfoisa and my colleague John Lucas and Lucas Mears. We work together for Okapi Conservation Project in the Congo. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Ashley from the Snow Leopard Conservancy. We partner with people across 7 countries in Central and South Asia, and I'm joined with Rinsen Funjuk Lama, our partner from Nepal.
Hi everyone, my name is Bridget Mayani from Zambia. I work for Zambian Carnivore Program.
Hi everyone, I'm Peter Lalampa with Belinda Law, working on Grave Zebra in northern Kenya.
Hi everyone, my name is David Kuvaoga. I have my colleague here, Ronnie Svanda. We work for painted dog conservation, and the species is what everybody loves, it's the painted dogs. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Laurie Marker. I'm from the Cheetah Conservation Fund, based both in Namibia and Somaliland and Kenya, with my partner, Bruce Brewer, And our motto is save the cheetah, change the world.
Sam and Sarah from the Macaw Recovery Network. We're working in Costa Rica and supporting partners in Central and South America.
Hey, back here. I'm Rocio from Argentina with my colleague Cynthia. We work with the Andean cat in 4 countries, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Who else? Who else?
Hello, we got forgotten because we spoke so much. Anyway, David Dabalend from Save the Elephant with my colleague Lucy here. Otherwise, wonderful to be here. Who next?
Baya, where are you? There you are.
Sorry. All right, thank you so much to everyone who was here. Please make your way to the booths, and I would like everyone to give the conservationists a big round of applause. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Please make your way to the booths, and can I ask everyone to just give them at least 5 to 10 minutes to settle back at their booths before we can all walk there? Yeah. And also, just as they walk to their booths, you can go ahead, please. Just as they walk to their booths, so after that 5 to 10 minutes, we can all join them in their booths. And don't forget to come back after 15 minutes here because we still have our virtual safari going on. Apart from that, we also have a beautiful cocktail outside. Yeah. And I'm really glad to see that as the conservationists were on stage here, they were practicing some of what we were learning from the previous speakers, like coexistence, because you could see all the different species there together. And some of them even had their 039. You heard they were with their husbands. So it was really lovely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, join us at 8:15 back in the auditorium for our virtual safari. Once again, our virtual safari will begin at 8:15 back in the auditorium. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Join us in the main auditorium in just a few moments for our virtual safari. Once again, our virtual safari will be beginning in just a few minutes in the main auditorium. Feel free to drop in. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in the main auditorium for our virtual safari. Once again, the virtual safari will be departing in the main auditorium in just a few moments. Thank you.
Hello, hello, everybody, welcome. If you're just coming in, feel free to bring your drink inside. If you're already in, feel free to go outside and get a drink and come back in. This is the casual part of the evening. Thanks for coming to our first wild night out and our first virtual safari. Whoop, whoop. If you haven't met me, I'm Megan Travalos. I'm the events coordinator of WCN, half of our amazing dynamic duo events team. So thanks for coming to Wild Night Out. So in 2019, the Lion Recovery Fund formed the Lionscape Coalition, and to tell you more about it is the director of the Lion Recovery Fund, Dr. Peter Lindsay.
Thanks, Megan. So just to give you a couple of brief words to introduce the Lion Recovery Fund itself and then the Lionscape Coalition. So the Lion Recovery Fund was formed 6 years ago in 2017. So it was formed in response to the crisis that was and still is facing Africa's lions. Their numbers had declined by about half during the preceding 20 to 25 years. And so there was a real problem facing the species. So we formed the Lion Recovery Fund. The idea was to try and raise as much funding from as many different sources as we could, and then take 100% of those funds for the best ideas for conserving Africa's lions, their prey, and their habitats. So my job, I live in Zimbabwe, I'm from Zimbabwe, I was born there. My job is to travel around Africa and find the best projects out there for conserving lions, their prey, and their habitats. And then I solicit proposals that are then reviewed by a professional granting committee who then decide if they're good enough to be, if they're solid enough to be funded. Now, the Lionscape Coalition is a coalition of tourism partners that have partnered with the Lion Recovery Fund. And it's a very natural partnership because tourism is a really strong pillar for conservation in Africa because it's a massive economic contributor, it's a massive employer, and it forms a very strong economic justification for the presence of these massive wildlife conservation areas. So conservation sector needs tourism, but equally the tourism sector needs lions. So lions are the most photographed species in Africa by tourists, and they're a massive draw card. So a lot of the tourism companies do a lot of kind of corporate social responsibility, but there are two limitations to the impact of the conservation efforts of tourism companies. One, often the efforts are can be a bit piecemeal and kind of uncoordinated. And then number two, the tourism industry is very skewed geographically, so most tourists go to the same few countries, and within those countries to a few areas. And so the Lionscape Coalition, what we've done is we've brought competing companies together so each company that's a member of the coalition contributes to the Lion Recovery Fund. So the competitive companies come together behind a common goal. And then the deal is that we invest half of the funds that we raise from them in the tourism areas, which is congruent with the science-based strategy that the Lion Recovery Fund has. But then we also invest half of the funds in areas off the beaten track, which means that tourism can contribute to the conservation of areas in places like South Sudan and Central African Republic where tourists can't safely go. So, yeah, on that note, it's with great pleasure to introduce tonight's virtual safari, which has been contributed by Dazzle Africa and Beyond, which are two of our 5 Lionscape Coalition members. They're fantastic partners, as are the others, Wilderness, Globus, and Ultimate Safaris. So sit back and enjoy, and feel free to relax. This is not as formal as come in and out, get some wine, get some more food, and enjoy. Okay.
Peter and I are the cool ones. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for that context. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, so as he said, we're really grateful to our Lionscape Coalition members, which include And Beyond, Dazzle Africa, whose footage you're seeing behind me right now, Wilderness Foundation, Travel Foundation, Wilderness Destinations, Conservation Travel Foundation, and the Globus family of brands. So we're really excited to show you the safari that And Beyond has created for us today. To give you a little bit of context about where we are, we of course are in San Francisco, if you didn't already know that. I don't know how you got here, but I'm glad you're here. So we are here at City View at the Metreon on the top floor, and we're gonna go all the way over to South Africa tonight, all the way over to South Africa. We're gonna be in Ngala and Pinda parks in South Africa on our virtual safari with And Beyond. Here's what I'm gonna wink and say, they can't hear, we can hear them, but we're not sure they can hear us, kids. Wink. Hopefully we'll get to talk to them tonight. Are you guys ready for this virtual safari? Woo! All right, let's head out. Thanks everybody again for being here. If we don't see anything, it's not my fault. We will. Do I need to click again?
Very warm welcome to your very own live safari from the African bush. We are on and beyond Ngala, and we have just got this beautiful, beautiful scene of this male lion walking through the morning mist. So look at the scene that we have. Look at the mist in the background. That's mist that's rising from the river. And this male lion has just crossed the river and he's walking. Looks like he's smelling the scent of what could be the rest of the pride that he's trying to find. Look at him. He's just been spotted by some impala and they're alarm calling. So he's just paused. And just look at how full that belly is. Bit of scrape marking. Let me see if I can try and reposition again. And to make things even better, we've got the sun that looks like it's threatening to peer just above the clouds. So we could have him and the sunrise in the same shot. That would just be the best way to start. We've just found the rest of the pride. Listen. No ways. Can you believe it? And that was just the most incredible thing to experience. So far, I've just seen this one female who's off to the right of the vehicle, but the rest are, oh, there we go, up ahead. It's actually making it quite difficult to spot them because of the mist that we have this morning. But they're lying in the mist, one's up and walking away from us. Go more left. Okay, zoom into dead center, there we go. There we go. And look at that one. That one's got its head up and it's looking straight down towards those impalas. One female and the male that we were following just to the right of us. But the rest of the pride looks like it might be in that mist belt. And the sun is coming up as we speak.
Awesome. So now we're going to head over to Ian at And Beyond Pinda.
Welcome to Pinda Private Game Reserve in South Africa. We're at Mountain Lodge in the south of the reserve, and I want to show you a little bit of a map and tell you what we've got planned for this morning. So this is where we are, and we had some lion tracks moving through this area yesterday, and then last night there were actually some elephants seen in this area as well. So we were thinking of driving across towards the west of the reserve and see what we can find, see if we can find some tracks of either lion or elephant, and hopefully find either one of those two animals this morning. On the front of the vehicle this morning, we've got Seth, who's going to be tracking for us. He's looking for fresh tracks and signs of these animals that we're looking for, and he's got an amazing pair of eyes, so hopefully he can help us spot some of these animals as well. Let's get going.
Welcome to And Beyond Ngala this morning with a very, very beautiful sunrise and some clouds moving over. It's a nice cool morning, and my name is Yapi, and behind the camera we have Owen as always. We've started out this morning, we've heard some lions calling. It sounded not too far from where we were, and we're going to look for them this morning. So with this beautiful sunrise, we're standing in a clearing at the moment where would be the best spot to listen to any sound that will travel. We're on the riverbank of the Timbavati, and on our opposite side, there's also quite a few clearings. We thought that the lions might be calling from somewhere around there, but we're not too sure. So at this point, we're having a quick break and listening out.
Warm welcome to all our viewers that are tuning into this virtual safari. And currently we're watching a whole herd of elephants here at And Beyond Ngala. Now it's so beautiful. There's quite a few of them at the moment. I've counted at least 30 elephants.
With anything that's live, you never know what's going to happen. We're going to see if we can get it back up. Anyone out here been on a safari? Oh my gosh, a few people. Take me next time, please. I can see that we're getting to back where we were. I can see into the future, so I can tell you there's some cool elephants coming up.
You might notice there's a very small baby just underneath her. So let's spend some time.
Everybody cross your fingers. Now's a great time to go get a refill on your drink if you need it. Now's a great time to go check out the marketplace next door if you haven't already. Our conservationists are over there with also our amazing volunteers
All the different,
who are so glad to be here.
It almost looks like
the first
bits
time
and
since COVID.
pieces of some material on her back. So that's probably as she was flicking dust onto her back. There's a bit of leaves on there. And even look at the baby, how wet the baby is. And I don't know even if it was him or maybe as he was trying to drink with mom and she was blowing water onto herself, she basically just covered him with water. There's just so many elephants. There's actually more coming off from the left. Can count at least another 10 elephants. It looks to me that the whole herd is moving off from the left to the right. So I just want to make sure that they don't surround us. But if they stay where they are now, we might just have this beautiful view of all of these elephants moving in the sun in front of us. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, it does look like they have changed direction, so we're perfectly safe where we are now. But if we do need to move to get out of the way, we can definitely do that. See, there's just a little one that's come a bit closer. So what we're going to do now, so what he's trying to do is just show a bit of dominance, but we're going to respect that. And we're going to slowly just move back because we do want to keep a bit of distance between us and them. So just bear with me as I slowly move back. All we have to do here is we'll just have to be a little bit patient because you'll notice a few of the elephants are actually coming through. There's quite a few coming. Oh, there's this very, very small baby coming as well. Look at that. Okay, what I'm going to do, see the mother's lifting up her trunk. So what they are doing now is they're smelling basically where the water is. So I'm going to just move back a bit. Well, I'm not going to move actually. I'm just having a look right in front of us. There's a youngster pretty soon going to cross the road. If they do get a little bit closer, we will move back, but we just want to keep a comfortable distance between us and these elephants. So let's count how many goes. Okay, I'm just going to lower my head a little bit more here. There's quite a few. So there's 2 that has gone through. Look at how beautiful. Look at this one. He's quite keen for a little drink. He's on his way. But how wonderful is this silhouette? You can only and also just compare it. I mean, from the elephants we saw earlier, if you look at this, the height of the tail above the ground in comparison to this little elephant, it just shows you how small he is. He's basically the size of a big, fully grown warthog. That's how big this little one is. in the middle, there's a little baby, small trunk. See how it's just using its trunk to blow in the sun. But earlier on, see the way that's lying down? So earlier on, the adults actually stood over it. As it was lying down, there was a bit of shade over the baby. And they just gently move around this baby. But have a look at that.
I cannot stand it. It's too cute. I think he's just about ready to send us over to Barney over at And Beyond Ngala. Let's see what they've found.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to And Beyond Ngala. My name is Barney, and I have got Owen behind me as a cameraman for the day.
We come around the corner and here comes the young Shitsalala male up a tree with some beautiful sunlight on his face, looking like he's enjoying the first bit of the sun as it warms him up. He is, though, looking around because there have been hyenas moving all over around underneath the tree and all over, and now he decided to look straight at myself and Owen right there. He's such a beautiful male here. Even if we didn't know him too well, one of the giveaways when you see a young animal compared to an old one, one of the things you'll see now as it looks towards us again is that pink nostril that he still has. Takes a little bit of time for that change to happen, and he is just at the moment sitting there, look like he's enjoying the sun while something else is catching his attention onto the left there. He's so concentrated right now. Not so many things will disturb him right now, but he's possibly looking to see if it's either the mother coming back or is the hyenas that were here that are disturbing those birds that are giving a distress call on the other side. This is a really stunning cat, beautiful cat sitting in a tree. Like I always say, looking at the way he's sitting right now, he's making the tree look way too comfortable for my liking. The bark is hard, everything is just so hard that it will hurt if you're lying on top of that. He is very alert this morning. Often when a cat is up in a tree like that with a full belly, you often find them with the head completely down, showing that they want to rest. Ooh. Something must have moved in the grass. Did you see how quickly he looked up? Looks like he's twisting his neck too much there. There's a hyena walking underneath the tree right now. Listen to that hyena calling. Sniffing around right at the base of the tree, looking up. Definitely have seen the leopard, but I think he's hoping for a little bit more, maybe a carcass, but there's absolutely nothing right now. Sniff, sniff. Hey, buddy, have you got some food for me? Says the hyena. And he got his answer, and it looks like on the road he is again. It's actually quite a big female. This is not a male for sure. So it feels like this morning we're lacking out with the cats themselves. The mother, it looks like she's also returned back into the scene. And at the moment, she's just taking it easy right on the side of the termite mound. But she's also still looking around, not having a peace of mind with the amount of hyenas that have been walking through this area. I don't know if that hyena realizes what he's doing, that he's holding that little boy up, holding him hostage there not to be able to come and keep up with the mother. They're still calling, but seem to be slowly but surely moving away, taking them away out of here. It's a really beautiful sight indeed to see a family of 3 leopards and a hyena in the scene. It's really a beautiful thing because these animals are solitary. So while we wait to see how long it's going to take before the young male starts following, we will send you to the rest of the team.
I would say, I'm still in the process of learning how to track. It's not as easy. I thought like growing up, like it would be a lot easier, but I think there's so much skill involved in it. And I think for me, like I can basically follow tracks if they're on a nice clear path, and if they move through the grass and I don't lose them, I might be able to do it. But sometimes with animals, the more you track, the more you have this intuitive feeling of where are the animals going to go. So I think for me, sometimes if I follow track and I start losing it, I start thinking, okay, where would this lion go to? Okay, so it's a male lion. He probably just came off a carcass. The only water around is nearby, or he might want to join up with the pride. So my next move is probably going to go to where he's most likely going to go. And then I'll go and drive that road, or maybe I'll go walk onto a game trail and see if I can see any other tracks of those lions, or that lion. If I don't, I know that he might be lying down somewhere. And it's just through a little process of elimination until you narrow it down to such a small area that you have to find that lion in there. But it doesn't always work like that. But that's just how it works. So it started from a very young age, growing up on the farm. I was exposed a bit to tracking, but of course, working out, especially with a very experienced tracker, really helped me a lot. And I mean, still, each and every day, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about nature is you can never stop learning. And you never know, like the more I learn about nature, the more I realize I don't know about nature. So
He's certainly a better tracker than me.
Here we have a beautiful sunlit clearing. And some lions, sunlit lions right in the middle. We have a look at these two right in front of us. Two of the older ones, the male. You can see he's closing his eyes a little bit. He is interested in something off to the right, but he's also, and that lioness has just got up and moved. But he's also enjoying some of the sunlight. And then the older lioness off to his left, or laying right behind him. I can see that lioness that's just gotten up. She looks very intrigued. And earlier we had a quick view of the other male straight in the direction that she's staring at. We're only seeing a couple of the members of the pride at the moment. Oh, there's another lioness coming from the right. And now they're staring down towards the riverbed side. So for those of you that can't see, I know it's difficult to see, but there's a green tree line. Oop. Listen to that. One's calling. Called and stopped. I like this male lion. What I like most about him is the fact that he sometimes just starts something off quite quickly and then just leaves it. I think I'm going to move around a little bit to see what's happening there.
So while Yabi repositions his truck during this live virtual safari, I just want to again say thanks to our Lionsgate Coalition partners. Right now we're watching footage from And Beyond. If you haven't been on a safari yourself,
And just have a look at this scene, how it's quickly changed from laying down to lions with two tiny little cubs off to our right. Look at those two. You can see they've got their tails up. The one looks like it's calling. I think a situation like this might be a little bit stressful for them sometimes. We also haven't really seen them. Whoa! And there's a huge herd of elephants coming from the other side. I am going to reposition a little bit so that we might get a view of these lions with the elephants coming from the back. Okay, here they come. I'm not going to move closer for now. Where those lions have gone, unfortunately, is extremely dense in there. And for me to move into that area with this large herd of elephants, there's baby elephants as well. You can hear the lions calling. If I had to go move in there, and these elephants come across the lions, then I would be in the wrong place at the wrong time for sure. Have a look, it looks like we're going straight towards where those lions are. Yo, quite a large herd. How amazing, that small little elephant. Shame. This might be, I'm sure it's not its first encounter with lions nearby, but that little thing could not be in a safer place at this moment, even though the whole pride of lions with two big males is down in that riverbed. At the same time, I can also hear another lion calling from far towards our east.
We're almost out of time here, but we are going to head back over to Pinda now with Ian. We've been watching these elephants at Ngala, so now we're going to head on over to the other part of the park.
So as we mentioned earlier, the lionesses have all settled down, and as you can see now, the male as well has flopped onto his side and lying in the shade with this cool breeze. And this is probably what they're going to do for the majority of the day. So this is maybe our cue. Literally covered the vast area ahead of us, tracking these lions this morning. We've started at the base of the furthest hill that you can see, and to find them eventually and have the interaction that we had was unbelievable. So it's definitely worth our while tracking them, taking the time, and to finish off like that was unbelievable.
He's right, that was pretty unbelievable. It was nice to be able to enjoy it without all the mosquitoes and bugs, though. And a drink in your hand. So again, we want to say thanks to our Lionscape Coalition partners that have been supporting the Lion Recovery Fund. We were watching footage from And Beyond, and this footage you see behind me is from Dazzle Africa. All these partners are travel partners. We really are excited about our partnership with them and the trips you can take with them that will also support conservation. So if anyone has some questions, we do have a little bit of time with Peter. If I see one question already in the audience, yeah. Shout it out and I will repeat it. Oh, here we go, we got a mic right behind you.
If the lion population has been reduced by 50% or whatever the number you said, what does that do to the prey species in terms of overpopulation or?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, but very often the primary cause for lion populations declining is reduction of prey populations due to poaching for bushmeat. So normally the decline in prey populations precedes the decline in lion populations, normally. Does that answer your question? But certainly in rare occasions, rare circumstances where you have a well-managed protected area that doesn't have lions but does have prey animals, then you can have overpopulation. And the problem with that is then when you get a drought, you tend to have a catastrophic die-off of the prey animals because they reach too high densities, and then when there's no food, a lot of them die. But that's fairly unusual. It's normally the other way around, as I said.
All right, great question, thank you. Anyone else? You can also find Peter out on the terrace where there's nibbles and drinks after this, or in the marketplace in the next room over. We do have, in case she came into the room, we've got someone from Dazzle Africa here tonight. If you see her, say thanks to Fairly.
So just to give you guys an idea where these places were. So Ngala is just on the western side of Kruger. And Pinda is in KwaZulu-Natal, which is on the sort of northeastern area of South Africa. As I said, we have this policy with the Lionscape Coalition where we invest some of the funding in the areas where these guys work. So we are investing in the Kruger landscape. So Kruger National Park and surrounds has got one of Africa's largest lion populations. But there are indications that it's starting to be affected by targeted poaching of lions for the body parts. So we're investing in a project designed to closely monitor lion numbers and really get a grip on how serious the lion poaching issue is to help design interventions. And then we, as I said, we take half of the investment and then we invest it in places like South Sudan, Central African Republic, Angola, and places where there's no tourism. So Dazzle Africa, the other company that Megan had mentioned, worked primarily in South Luangwa, which is the primary tourism park in Zambia. It's a beautiful protected area. And we put quite a lot of funding in there to tackle bushmeat poaching primarily, but also we help to tackle, or our funding helps to tackle human-lion conflict. And then during COVID, a lot of the tourism guides were laid off or furloughed. And so Conservation South Luangwa and Zambia Carnivore Program had a really cool project where they would hire furloughed tourism guides to take community members on game drives. Because community members normally only see wildlife in the context of an elephant trashing their fields or a lion eating their cows. So for local people to actually experience wildlife in the manner that tourists do was really special, and they really appreciated that. Also, we helped to pay for a lot of furloughed tourism staff to do snare sweeps and pick up snares. So it's a real big threat in Luangwa. So that was another good example of how Lionscape Coalition funding helped us there. But as I said, we then take half of that funding and invest in somewhere like, say, northern Mozambique, where there's no tourism.
That's great. Thanks, Peter. We have a question in the middle. He's bringing a mic for you.
Thank you. We'd heard from one of the other conservationists that in Kruger National Park in particular, there were problems where the staff had been, shall I say, corrupted, and the staff themselves were undermining rather than supporting conservation efforts. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to necessarily comment specifically about Kruger, but it can happen. It can happen in protected areas if the morale of rangers falls below a certain level, or if there's corruption at the higher ranks. It can result in kind of a bad example, and obviously with wildlife crime there is potential to make quite significant money. For example, through rhino horn or ivory or lion body parts or whatever. So there is a temptation, and so to prevent that, it's critical to have really good management in place, really good working conditions, good sense of morale, and also checks and balances to make sure that when if staff do get tempted to kind of go to the other side, so to speak, that you can catch it out either through having intelligence networks, or in some cases like I know in Kruger, for example, where there's a really big temptation with the rhino horn poaching, have been like lie detector tests and things like that, kind of routine lie detector tests to call that kind of thing out. So, being a ranger is a very tough job. It's very unrewarding. The salaries are not great. It's really tough. It's dangerous. And so every now and then, some guys will stray. But if you create the right working conditions and sense of morale, you can minimize it.
Any other questions folks want to share now? All right, I have one. What if I want to go on safari in Africa? What are your tips? What's the perk of using one of our Lionscape Coalition partners? What advice do you have?
Now that is a good question. So as to where to go in Africa on a safari depends a lot on your level of experience with safaris. There are certain countries that are easier to start with, and other countries that are maybe you want to go to later once you've kind of ticked off the easier countries. So some countries have really lots of very visible wildlife, and then other countries have maybe you have to work a little bit harder to see the wildlife, but they have some other species that are maybe less easy or don't occur elsewhere. So in terms of where to go, I'm biased because I'm Zimbabwean, so I would say Zimbabwe, of course. And then in terms of using the Lionscape Coalition companies, I mean, honestly, they really do have absolutely superb wildlife real estate. And so if you go with Wilderness or any of these companies, and beyond Ultimate Safaris, Dazzle, or Globus, you can really get to some of the best places in Africa to see wildlife, including lions. So, yeah, obviously we recommend them because they're fantastic companies. Yeah, there's so many cool places to see in Africa, though. The answer is it depends what you want to see.
All right, well, I got to get up there, get down there now very soon. All right, well, thank you all for joining us for this virtual safari. Again, Peter will be mingling around out on the terrace if you have any more questions about the Lionscape Coalition and its partners or the Lion Recovery Fund. But we've also got all of our conservationists in this next room. If you go back to the hallway and go right, you can check out the marketplace. And again, thank you to our Lionscape Coalition partners and to you all for coming to Wild Night Out.
Thanks, guys.
Good job.
Cool. Well done.
Good job.